Hey guys, and welcome to this special segment of Mostly Peaceful Latinas, where we are highlighting candidates for races that you probably aren't paying attention to or haven't heard of for this midterm, for these primary elections, August 20th. And remember, you're supposed to be voting already. August 20th is the last day to vote, not the day to vote. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring in our guest, Ed Vidal, community activist extraordinaire, savior of the Republic, dedicated his whole life to it. Ed Vidal is currently running for a committee man chair for the Republican Executive Committee. And I'm sure that a lot of you are wondering, what is that? You're not sure, but these names are going to be on the ballot, and we want to make sure that you understand why these races are so important and why it is imperative that you familiarize yourself with the right people to vote for in these races. Ed, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. So my name is Ed Vidal. I am a semi-retired lawyer, corporate lawyer. I've been practicing law for over 40 years. And even though I took early retirement, I'm still active as general counsel of several startups and online media companies. And in addition to that, I'm also a columnist on the Miami Independent. That's miamiindependent.com, and I write a column every week or so. And one of my main topics and one of my passions in politics, since I got out of college and law school, is election integrity. Because as Joe Stalin said, it doesn't matter who casts the votes, what matters is who counts the votes. So I've always been focused on making sure that the votes were properly counted. And so I've always been a poll watcher, especially since 2008 when I saw that President Obama was going to get elected. I said, I better get involved in politics. Can't be a full-time lawyer all the time. So I've been a poll watcher, that is on election day and during early voting. I and many other lawyers, we are either stationary in a polling place or we are assigned a circuit of polling places to go check and make sure everything's okay. So that's what I've been doing. But after the 2020 election, where I saw such irregularities in Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, I said, we need more than this. We can't just be going there on election day because things are happening before election day. And those things are things like what? Well, voter rolls. You have to make sure you have clean voter rolls, that you don't have dead people or people that moved away. Because if you have dead people or people that moved away, local operators can get ballots, especially, or send somebody in to vote, or better yet, get vote by mail and vote in their place. And that happens all the time. I moved from Houston to Miami about 10 years ago. And then 5 years after I left Houston, I got a call from a friend in Houston who said, Ed, you and your wife, Katrina, are still registered to vote here in Houston. So somebody could have gone in and said they were Ed and Katrina Vidal. With a vote by mail, it's even easier. You just get it and you don't even, there's no voter ID. So that's what I came to realize. It's not just about poll watching and poll working. You have to work and clean up the voter rolls. You also have to work to make sure that the voting machines are not tampered with. You want to make sure that they're not connected to the internet where the numbers can be manipulated. You want to do things like limit vote by mail, because vote by mail is rife with fraud. It is a great opportunity to vote to commit vote fraud. America is the only democratic republic that has vote by mail at this scale. And it's something that I am working on and other people are working on to limit it so that it goes back to something more like absentee ballot. Like you have to have an excuse. You don't just get it automatically. There are many states, California, Washington, Oregon, where everybody just gets a ballot. Well, what happens to that ballot? It's really a mess. So that's what I've been doing. And so as a result of that, we have been working. After the 2020 election, I got involved in the Republican Party. What you have to understand is that American political parties were not in the Constitution, but soon after the Constitution was put in place, people started dividing themselves into one and then two political parties. There's two sides to these issues. So, for example, the Republican Party has a branch in every state. In Florida, it's called the Republican Party of Florida. And then they have a Republican executive committee in every county. and people are elected every 4 years to be committeemen. Now, in Dade County, there are a maximum, the county is divided into 40 districts. 40 districts, even though we have almost 1,000 precincts. Precincts, they usually have 1,000 voters. In Dade County, we have a maximum 160, most likely 120 or 30 committeemen to represent all these people. I did a study on other counties in Florida, and according to the Republican Party of Florida's constitution, you're supposed to have around 1,000 registered voters for every committee man or woman that you have in the local Republican Party. Most counties in Florida have 1,000. Some have 2,000 or 3,000. Broward County is up at 4,000. They need more committeemen. Dade County is 12,000 registered voters per committeeman. We need more committeemen. So that's why we got involved in the Republican Executive Committee. And when I say we, I mean myself, my wife, Katrina, like the hurricane, and other members of the Election Integrity Brigade, people like Henry Zarb, who's the president, and Christy Tasker, who is our candidate for state committee woman. So we are concerned that there are not enough Republican activists in the Republican Executive Committee here in Dade County. Like I said, we should have twice the number, and the current leadership of the Republican Executive Committee is keeping it closed. They prefer to run a private social club instead of a political party where everybody can get in.
And
I'm
can
after,
you
hmm?
can you inform the audience on what are some of the responsibilities that these local RECs would be responsible for? Like what
Yeah.
efforts, what do they do? What do they help with?
All right. So here's what they're supposed to help with. So I go at it from an election integrity point of view. I need poll watchers. We need to recruit people who will be poll watchers. And today we're doing that separate from the Republican Executive Committee. You can go to electionbrigade.com and register to be a poll watcher. So that's important. Another thing, we need door knockers to help in campaigns. We need voter registration. Here in Dade County, Republicans are number 3. You hear that this is a red county. We're not. Democrats have the most registered voters, then no party affiliation, then Republican registered voters. And the local executive committee does not have a drive to recruit poll watchers or voter registrars or door knockers. So that's what we're trying to get up against. The job of the local Republican executive committee is to represent the conservative cause, I would say, the Republican position against the local Democrat Party. So what happens when you don't have enough people and when you don't have competent and dedicated leadership? Look at the county offices. There are several positions where the Republicans do not have a candidate opposing the Democrat. Let me start with the most important one. State's attorney. Catherine Fernandez Rundle is a Democrat. She's been there for as long as anybody can remember. She doesn't have an opponent. Now, why didn't the Republicans they had 4 years to recruit an attorney to run against her? You telling me there's not a single conservative Republican attorney in Dade County with 1,455,000 registered voters that would go up against Catherine Fernandez Rundle, who's been there forever? Come on, that's a real failure. Second is public defender, same thing. No Republican challenger. The next is there are around 4 positions on the county commission where there is 0 Republican challenger. There are 2 or 3 Republican county commissioners up this year, 2 of them, and they each have at least 1 Democrat challenger. That tells you the Democrats are on the ball. The Republican Executive Committee is dropping the ball, not recruiting and training and supplying and supporting Republican candidates. The other one is the school board. There is 1 member of the school board. There are about half of them. There are 13 members or so. Half of them are up this year. One of them doesn't have a Republican challenger. What's going on? The job of the Republican Party is to challenge the Democrats, be a competitive force. Same thing with now the county mayor is a nonpartisan election. There are several Republicans, but we need to unite to take on who is a county mayor who has raised taxes, raised the fees for municipal services. She has increased the bureaucracy by hiring more and more people. She has just about tripled the county budget, which is, I'm going to write an article on this called the New Yorkification of Dade County government. And finally, she has uh, politicized county contracts. So if you're a county contractor, you can't go against her, and you can't, for example, Manny Sid, who's running against Levine Cava, he's told us that many cases county contractors come up to him and say, yes, we would like to work with you, but if we support your campaign, we're going to get in trouble with the county mayor, and she's going to cut off our contract. So county contracting and politicizing it is another factor. That's why we have to confront the Democrats. They know if they don't act right, we're going to get a good candidate, support them, to give them a real challenge. You may not win, but at least you give them a tough challenge. They know you're watching. So what are we doing this year? Because there are elections for members of the Republican Executive Committee. Remember, I said there are 40 districts. Each district has 2 men and 2 women. So we in the Election Integrity Brigade have come up with a slate of approximately 50 men and women who are running for these positions. And our pledge is, if we are elected, we will support expanding the size of the Republican Executive Committee, making it follow the rules. There are many rules that they're not following. For example, they're required to file their membership immediately or promptly whenever there's a membership change with the local super of elections. They have not done that in about 3 years. There's questions about their financial filings. When they have meetings, they don't follow Robert's Rules of Order. It's all like a free for all. We've had a
And their
situation.
I hate to interrupt you. A question for you. Their
Sure.
funding. Who funds the local REC?
Well, they raise money from whoever they can. It's really voluntary contributions here in Dade County. There's a guy named Max Alvarez who is very successful with Sunshine Fuels, and he's one of the major funders of the local Republican Party. In addition, every year they have a Lincoln Day dinner, which they try to turn that into an event, a fundraising event. They had one about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The speaker was Rick Scott, and it was like $250 a head. So that's how they try to raise money. We in the Election Integrity Brigade don't really need a lot of money to do our job. So we don't really focus on fundraising so much. But yeah, that's part of the
We need
job of the
people.
Republican Party,
We
to
need
raise money
people.
so that the candidates can be properly supported.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like the REC is at a minimum supposed to be motivating more Republicans to get involved and help the campaigns of other Republican
They
candidates.
don't want that. The current leadership would rather have full control over a small party than share control in a larger and growing party. That is the bottom line. It's la cosa nostra. They think they're running the Big Five social club. Forget it.
Ed, one last point for you. We're coming up to the wrap up here. You are running. You and
Yes,
your wife both are running for committee man and committee women,
right.
committee woman
In
seats.
District 40, we are running. Eduardo Vidal and Katrina Vidal are both running for District 40 committee man and committee woman. We hope you'll support us. You can see the rest of our slate. We have about 50 people
That was
running.
my question.
Yeah,
Where can
yeah.
they go to find?
Election, you go to electionbrigade.com and you can see our entire slate. I think we were the first time that we were very open about it. And we just said, this is our slate. These are our people. We published it about a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people freaked out. How can you do that? You got to be quiet. I said, no, this is how you do politics. You're open to the public. The problem is that in the past, the current leadership, which is very kind of stuck in the mud, they have gone against the individual candidates, even try to get them fired from their jobs. These are Democrat Bolshevik tactics that the Republican leadership has been using, and I think I'm old enough that I don't have to worry about that. So we're very open. We had the slate. We sent out the emails, and we're continuing to do a lot of digital marketing for our team.
I love that. This is a really important race. Guys, again, August 20th is the last day to vote. All right. So
Yeah,
we need you guys
yeah.
out in the polls. These are elections that normally go unnoticed. The people are just too busy to keep
Right.
up with, which is why we're putting out this resource for you. Don't complain about the direction of the GOP and the party and how it is that you're represented in Miami-Dade. If you can't get out there and vote these primary elections to fill these very important seats, which are elected officials to some degree, but in reality, they're just there as representatives of you and your needs as constituents of Miami-Dade and these districts. Ed, thank you so much for coming on the show
Anytime.
today, making the time. We're going to have you on again. I know you've got a lot. You are an
Thank
expert when
you.
it comes
Yeah.
to all things Miami-Dade, and we appreciate all of the work that you do.
Thanks to you, and I'm here a tus órdenes.
Thank you, Ed. Have a good one.
Thank you.